So now, let's start. First of all, let's go into the render properties, check out the bloom, the threshold, set this into 0.4. Now, on the volumetrics, disable the volumetric lighting. On the performance, disable the high quality normal so that our blend file would not be laggy. And for the shadows, set this into both 4K resolution with the high bit depth and disable the soft shadows. And lastly, for the color management, set the look into medium high contrast and the view transform to standard. Now let's start.
And now, before we continue, I have an important thing to say. So, if you want to master 3D anime in just under a week, there's an opportunity waiting for you now that includes step-by-step anime courses, unlimited anime blender files, and of course, bonus assets at the best offer you'll see in your life. At Ultimate 3D Anime Package, you'll get all of this. So now, check the description to see your opportunity before your time runs out and become a 3D anime sensei in just a week. By the way, the free blend file for this tutorial is in the description below.
So now, for the part 1 of this anime grass tutorial, first of all, we need to add a plane, of course. Then, let's go on this viewport shading first, so that we could see it a lot clearly. Now, let's scale this a little bit. Go into edit mode. Let's subdivide this for around 5 times. Yes, 5 times is enough. Then let's open the proportional editing. Then press 1 to go into the vertex mode. Then simply add some bumps on your plane. So it's up to you how do you want to make this, but it really does not matter on how you would like your landscape to look like. So this is our initial landscape or our base landscape for this grass. Next, this is the most important part, so let's go into the particle systems tab, go and add the particle system, then go into hair, advanced, make this around, let's say 2000. Then a lot is better here, but for me 2000 is already enough for this project. Then of course, reduce this hair length to around 0.5. Set the segments into 2. For the hair dynamics, we won't need anything there as of the moment. For the velocity, we won't need anything as well. For the rotation, we're going to use this in a while after we've already finished our grass here. And now for the render. So that's going to be an option as well, but as of now, we're just going to add a default material because our material will just be the same of the material on the emitter as well. So make sure to show the emitter, and on the viewport show it as well. So the emitter is this one, which is the base landscape. And now, before we continue, let's go back into the render properties again, because what we need here is going to the bottom of the performance, which is the curves, then select strip. As you could see, the grass shape already changes. Then let's go back into the particle system and let's go on the children. Now select this interpolated. Then here, you could simply copy what I do here. And now, at children, select the interpolated. Then just simply copy my settings here. So I'm going to change this into boot 40. Then the length, it's up to you. But as of now, we could do this at 1. Then let's go into the clumping first. So the clump, what it would look is it going to look like this. It's either it could be negative clump or a positive clump. Of course, we're going to set it to something like this. So let's set this to around negative 0.9. Then the shape could change it a little bit. So it is set into 0, but I would like to make mine into around 0.0, something like this. Now as you can see, this is what it looks like on the top view. Either you could just make this around 1K so that it would be faster to render it. But still, 2000 is still better, but it depends. But for sure, 1000 will still look good. Now let's continue. Now this is the clumping, and you could also use some curves, but it does not need it anymore. Clump noise, it's up to you if you want some noise here, but it is not recommended by me. Roughness, of course, I think I add a little bit here on my previous project. So yes, I'm going to add. The endpoints could be changed as well. So it's another endpoint, then make shape here. So the shape is like a randomizer of the endpoints here. So it would give a lot of fuzzy texture if it already has some textures. So I'm going to give this around 0.2. I mean 0.05. It's 0.03. Then 1.5 here is enough. Okay, now it looks a lot more randomized. You know what, let's just stick to 1.3 and make this 0.0. Okay, so next for the kink, so radial, so the amplitude, let's set this into around -0.1, and that's good. And now after the kink, let's go into the hair shape. For the hair shape, so we have strand shape here. So this is already your choice on how you would like your grass to look. So this one, I would like to make it a little bit thick here. So let's set it around on the negative side. Then diameter scale, it's up to you. Then same on the root. Let's make this 1 point. So basically, we're almost done on this first layer of our particle system, which is the grass. So what's next is, let's add a little bit proportional editing here first, and let's scale this into z-axis. Now let's rotate our camera in the x-axis, then let's move this up a little bit. This is once again, and as of now this is going to work. So on the next part, it's going to be the texturing part. So first, let's add a color ramp here. So let's remove one color of this, and let's make this into color green. Let's connect this, and you could just simply set the color around here first. So you could simply copy my hex code and paste it on your end. So next, let's add a noise texture here, and Ctrl T. If you can't do the Ctrl T, go into the edit mode preferences and select or type node wrangler, then enable that. Next, let's add a map range here, but as of now, we're going to do the matte nodes if you're already almost done on the base texture. Okay, so as you could see, we're already seeing some changes here, and it is pretty good. Then let's set this into multiply. So multiply will darken it a lot. As you could see, became like this. Next, once we have this, let's try to add a info here, which is the curves info, since our curves here now is already on strips. If you remember on the render properties, it is already stripped. Then let's add a color ramp here, then connect the intercept, and let's mix it here. Now let us see. Okay, now as you could see here, what happens here is that the emitter becomes color black, but we could change the color of this one into around something like, or pretty much other color, or you could make this a little bit more brown so that it could be the ground. It's up to you. Also set a specific material for the grass here. Then for the ground, you could set a material with BSDF. Why? Because for example, if we add a cube and we rotate the sun here and the shadows cast on the ground, of course it will not change because this one does not have a BSDF. So if you add a principled BSDF here, as you could see the shadow there, that part will darken as well. So let's try to reduce our strength here, and let's try to increase our sunlight strength. Now as you could see, this part here that is casted by the cube is darkened, but if you remove the BSDF, as you could see, there is no casting of shadow. So that I'm explaining this, so you could simply add yours on a separate material. If you go in this part here, go around on the render and set your specific material without BSDF, and set another material for your emitter, which is this one. Okay, now since we don't need this as of the moment, I just explained it to you, we could remove this. Okay, this one as well. So let's continue. Next, what we're going to do here is we're going to add a wind animation or the breeze animation, and that is also going to be on two animations. So the first animation is going to be the texture animation. So we're going to do that first. In order to do that, let's add a wave animation here. Ctrl T, then add the color ramp, then make sure that this is on bands, not rings. Then add another black color here, then simply put the white on the middle. You could simply now add these two, then select add, factor to 1. Now as you could see, we see a lot of lines here, so of course we're going to scale it until we could only see one line like that. Then we could rotate this one depending around something like this. Then you could add a little bit of distortion, and let's simply make this smaller. Then change this into a little bit of gray, and you could widen it. Now in order to animate this, it's going to be on X location. Split again, frame 300, and let's set this into negative value, and I think it's a little bit fast, so let's make it 800. Now as you could see, it's looking good. Set this into 1000. Alright, now texture, simply make this 3 so it would be a lot smoother. Then we could add a color ramp here once again to make things a lot smoother. Then maybe change this into 4. Now let's animate this as well. Let's change this into frame 500, frame negative 100. Right, then this one as well, frame negative 100. Now as you could see, it's looking good. Next, and the next thing what we should do here is to let's add a hue saturation here. So this is just a color correction, and let's try to reduce the saturation or change the value of this one. It's up to you. Let's add a little bit. Then we could add another noise texture here once again. Ctrl T. Then let's add a mix here, factor, then mix it here, make this add factor to around 0.5 as of the moment. Now we could change this into our color that we want, so this make things more smoother. So yes, I think this is already good, and you could change it into a little bit like this. Yeah. Next, what we want to do is to have an animation for the grass here. So moving on the next part, and now for the animation here, it's pretty easy. Going to the force field, then let's add a turbulence first. So the turbulence makes this kind of animation. Let's go on this viewport shading. So as you could see, just simply wiggles all of the particles. So what we're going to do here is simply press N, then go into the item, then go into the rotation. In my case, I would like to move this on the, or rotate this onto the Y axis. So I'm going to add a sharp frame, then 50 is enough here, as you could see. Or we could make this 100. I think 80 or 70 is good. Next, so that we could have a direction for the wind, let's shift A once again. Then we could add a harmonic or even a wind here. So simply rotate it on the Y, then could rotate it here on the Z axis as well. It's up to you. Then you could just simply move that or set it aside outside of the camera. Now as you could see, it's pretty looking good. Next, I think we should make this to around 50, and voila, we already have achieved the base anime or Ghibli grass. Now as you could see, this is pretty cool. The grass really does looks grass. It's not just simple hair strands, it's a clump of grass, and it also shapes grass as well. Next, we're not done yet, of course. We're going now to the next part, which will be the detailing part. So now for the detailing part, I already have a made grass here, and this grass could get any kind of grass or make your own, but don't worry, I would also have a link for this blend file in the bottom or in the description on this video, so you could just simply copy and do what I use here as well. So you could just simply use the kind of grass variation that I also use in this project. So this texture of the grass is only very simple. It's just a simple emission node, and let's go change that. Let's try to set it in this color. Okay, let's make it more saturated. Okay, now this works. So this will be another particle system here. Next, our next object here will be this one. So these are just simple circles. Then this one as well is just color pink, and this one as well is just a simple flowers. So let's rename this into flower variation, then this one into petals as well. Then let's select this 4 objects, press M, then let's add this into a new collection, then let's name the collection into details. Now that we have details, let's add another particle system here, then let's go into the hair, advance once again, then go into the render tab here, render as collection, then instance collection details. So we have this kind of thing here, but the problem here on the details part, we have the same amount of objects on each kind of object, but we don't want to do that, right? Because it's going to be not proportional, since of course there will be a lot more green than the pink, since you know green is much common, so we only need a little bit of pink and yellow as well. So in order to do that, instead of collection, we could just add a particle system for each object, so that we could also control how much or how many will there be and the rotation of each object. But here we're going to make this in a collection. Now let's fix this first, the rotation here. Let's try object X, and now there we go, it's looking good, but we need to select the proper facing here, something like this. And now, as you've noticed, we have a number of 1000 here. So since that what I've said a while ago, we have a lot more green than these two colors because green is a lot more common, let's shift D this and make sure you're still on the details tab and shift D it once again. So we have now 3 grass here, then 3 green petals here, but for the yellow and pink we only have 1. Next, go here, then change the number into around 500 only. As you've noticed, we still have a lot of yellow here. If that's the case, I'm going to remove some flowers here now. And for the pink, as you could see here, the rotation, we should fix this first. So go and press this and go into the edit mode, then tilt this or rotate it until it's looking flat at here. But of course we're not done yet. Let's go into the scale here. Let's add the scale randomize, which is, let's max it out. Then this one, now it's looking better. I think we should add more of this, more pink. And now we're almost done, so let's try to give it a render first. And as you could see, it's pretty looking Ghibli grass right now, but I think I should add a little bit more of variation of grass here. So let's add a new grass here, and let's change this size. So for this new grass, this one, let's go into the material, press this new material, go into edit mode, then press A, then assign. Then let's simply change this into a little bit of darker, And there we go. We already have this. Let's just simply bring this down a little bit. And there we go. We already have achieved the anime grass. So here's an sample of the grass that I've made, and it also has the same process here, but this scenery is a lot more complex. So as you could see, if I move the rock here, there's a generated or a proximity object here that is scattering on the edges of the rock, and that's pretty good because it gives like a darker part of the shadow, because in this project I didn't add shadows on the rocks, but I just add a generator or a darker area of grasses that is surrounding the rocks. And of course, it also have a trees here. It has some leaves, it has some procedural rocks and procedural trees here that is interactive by light. I'm also going to teach you here how to get the cracks here, about the ambient occlusion, because if we disable the ambient occlusion, the cracks behind the rocks are disappearing. And of course, the white outlines on the whole scene, as you could see here, for example in this one, it's very visible. So you could simply add a black outline, which is common for animes, but the white outline is also common for anime shadows, and these are all available in the Ultimate 3D Anime package, which is a community for a 3D anime artist that really want to master 3D anime for their career, for their personal projects, and a lot more, since 3D anime is one of the best art styles right now, since it can't be copied by AI completely, and in just a one 3D scenery you could already have a lot of anime scenes, and lastly is of course attractive into our eyes. So this is already available, including a private community, live coaching sessions, and unlimited and future anime files. So seize the opportunity and check the description for more info. Tadayoshi CG here. See you soon.